What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Gundam GQuuuuuuX. This is episodes 10 and 11, and with me, as always, I have Bluespade. So before I start, too, I should point out that, I didn't even realize, I guess this just came out recently, like, right, I guess, as the series is about to end, that this series is only going to be 12 episodes, which, the way the series was, like, the way everything was playing out, even up to, like, episode 9, it really didn't seem like it was going to be that long. Like, it seemed like it was going to at least be like 120 episode or so season, but then we learned it's only going to be 12 episodes, and it really feels like in episode 10 and 11 they really just hit the accelerator on the plot and just do not stop, because like that it seems like it's like reached almost like the climax of the series with the way that things play out in these next two episodes. Of course, not bothering to elaborate or go any further into the various plot points that were brought up earlier in the series. There's so many like loose plot threads that do not get addressed, and we're just kind of foregoing all of that to get to this, like, I guess, final fight between, I guess, this almost like, well, not even really a civil war, I guess, like civil conflict between like Casilia faction and the Giren faction that was kind of set up earlier, but it doesn't even really come to a head. I mean, it's already kind of over because of what happens, but yeah, like it just gets so crazy. I never anticipated that the series was going to be this short. It kind of shocked me when I heard about that.
This has to be the shortest Gundam series I've ever watched in my life.
Especially because I also want to say, like, especially because of the concepts that get brought up, like it's in episode 9, because you can't just go into stuff like multiverse theory and all that. Not even just, let's just even ignore that, right? The current state of this current timeline, like what happened with the 1-year war. There's so many questions with that probably aren't going to be addressed. But not even that, they go into like the multiverse stuff, which just brings its own set of questions that are obviously aren't going to get brought up at all. I mean, they do, but it's just that they don't have any time to really address any of it. So it's just a total mess. Like, I really am just so confused as to what they were, like, where they were going with this series, because it started out almost being like similar to like Wish from Mercury with the clan battle stuff, and then they move on from that to this like civil war, civil conflict between Casilia and Giren, and now we're going back into like the Kira stuff and Char, and it's just like a total mess. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any real like focus or any point to what's happening. At least it doesn't seem that way. And also with like the characters like Machu and Nyan, they seem like they're very just inconsequential as well in the in what's happening, because the main players just seem to be like Char, Casilia, Giren, and like some of the original cast from the original series, and Nyan and Machu and Nyan just kind of seem almost like they don't really matter, except maybe for Shuji, which, I mean, we'll get into that, because that it's just, I'm just so confused about that too.
Yeah. Yeah, it picks up sometime after they find Lala in her I guess you could say her mobile suit, whatever it is. So Chalia tells Machu his story about his initial delusionment with Zeon during the 1-year war, about his, I think it was a mission at one of the moons of Jupiter, at how like he and his crew were left for dead for much of that time, and he nearly committed suicide before.
Yeah, apparently it was some kind of like operation for him to acquire, like, what was it, helium or something?
Yeah, and then like he almost it goes so bad that he nearly commits suicide by after being isolated for so long, before, I guess, something in him, like, clicked for him to not do so. And then of course it gets to the time where he met Char during the war, how his ambitions resonated with him. And then this is, of course, he gives Machu the same gun that he nearly used to commit suicide on himself. And of course, Machu at this point is like, she like she's still technically a prisoner for them, but she's doing missions for them at the same time. Which
Well,
is also, I don't know. It's like I really wish they could have elaborated more about this, but of course we never really get much time about with that with everything that has happened.
well, yeah.
Within
What
the
was
next two
funny
episodes.
too is that like there's one point where like Shalia just kind of lets Machu go, and because he tells her like you can do whatever you want, but also I want you to do this now, and it's like wait a minute, it's just so like there's other instances like this where like a character will say something, but then they'll say something like not 5 minutes later that it feels like just directly contradicts what they just said. Like I don't know. It's just
And then of course this immediately gets us to well, actually no. Chalia, tells Machi that he needs to eliminate both Giren and Casilia at the exact same time,
yeah.
just to avoid the civil. But of course, things just go completely sideways when Casilia moves forward with her plans just right off the bat. So we get to Casilia meeting with Giren and his entourage, and she criticizes Giren for everything that he's done, over the 1 year war, and of course what happened. Actually, not criticizing Giren's inaction following her assassination attempt a few episodes ago.
Mhm.
And of course, she criticizes Giren's actions about like dropping the colony on Earth, causing massive casualties and stuff. Um, but as Giren and his entourage are calling Casilia out. They all of a sudden get poisoned and killed by her.
Okay, so I don't know if you were confused too, but how exactly so we see like the vial of I guess what what the poison was, and they say something about like because you said that they were criticizing. I guess they were getting on her for wearing that mask that she usually wears. And I guess the reason why she was wearing it was because of the poison, and I guess that must mean that the poison was some kind of a maybe like a poison gas, but it was like a vial of like what looked like liquid poison. So I was like kind of confused as to what exactly happened, and they don't really. It seems like there was a well, because there is a scene later with it was like a flashback scene with her and Neon where she mentioned some perfume that she liked, and it looked similar to that vial. So I wasn't sure if maybe like it was some kind of like maybe it was like a poison perfume, but they don't really go into it. So I was like kind of confused as to what exactly she did. Um, so I don't know. It seems to
Yeah.
imply that it was like
Eh,
some kind of an airborne like gas poison that she used. And I guess that's why she was wearing the mask or wearing her mask.
yeah. But well, her and her soldiers that were following her were also wearing
Mm-hmm.
masks to protect themselves. So they immediately take control of this whatever this weapon they call the Yo Magneto, and attack Giren's forces with both Xavier and Neon piloting the G-Fred. So Neon heads into the weapons core. I guess, and of course using like I guess what was it, this letter or this thing where she gets told like I
It was
forgot what
like
it was
it
called,
was like
but
some codes for the Rose of
yeah, it's
Thrawn.
some,
Um,
it's code that she used to activate the weapon, and basically it just eliminates the entirety of Giren's forces
yeah.
from her. I think I can't remember where. I don't know if it's like somewhere in Saturn or somewhere, or I
Yeah, I'm
can't
not
remember.
exactly sure, but we
Um,
actually I also mentioned I did mention the flashback earlier. In that flashback, we also I didn't really even realize that there I guess this is supposed to be sort of a parallel to what was happening with Machu, but Neon also gets a gun from Casilia, like Casilia's gun that she for some reason like and that's the thing is just so like ridiculous to me. Like as far as we know, like Casilia barely knows Neon, but yet she's entrusting her with her gun, which I thought was just so silly and ridiculous. And of course, like it gets brought up, it's going to be brought up later. But she just lets her have the gun. Which I don't know. I mean, like,
yeah, well, which will be brought up
yeah,
again like a little bit later. Um, but once after the weapon fires off this what was it? They call it the Zeknova, I think. Um, Pretty much killing off like all of or whatever's left of
Yeah,
Giren's
it seems to
forces.
like create some kind of a
And
black
then
hole, I guess, and it just yeah.
yeah, yeah, and then of course Machu becomes furious about how the Rose of Sharon is being used for that kind of destruction. So she goes into the core of where the G-Fred is, demanding to know its pilot, which of course transitions us into episode 11, in which she finds out that Neon is the pilot of the G-Fred, and it's, I mean, they're fighting each other, but it's just like why do you two need to fight each other about like what is
I
happening? It's
I'm not
just
sure to be. I didn't even really think about that. Yeah, like why are they fighting each other? I,
it's like Neon's basically doing this just so she can reunite with Shuji
well,
in some manner,
yeah. Well,
but
they
it's
both
like,
want to.
yeah, they both want to, but it's just I don't know. It's like they're fighting each other, but like, why do you guys need to fight each other? It's just like, and Machu questions Neon's decision to join Neon, and then it's like, and and Neon like responds like she doesn't know why she's joining Xeon and such and such. It's like, it's just like they were not getting really clear answers of why,
I mean,
as to why,
to be fair, we haven't really gotten a lot of clear answers on pretty much anything.
no, like they're just like throwing like, just, I don't know, easy off ramps, just for us to get to the main whatever's left of this fucking plot.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so elsewhere, in that was it in the Yamagnitho? I think it was like where, I think, um where's this place? It's at a stage play, I guess. So this blonde haired guy we saw like a few episodes ago, who's disguised as like, some researcher for Xeon, is cornered by Casilia and immediately exposes him as being Char.
What a shock.
I mean, I wasn't
Yeah.
surprised. I mean,
I just thought,
when
I
I
don't know.
saw him,
Like I said before we started recording, I was thinking like, okay, well, it'd be too obvious. I think if it were Char, like it's probably somebody else, but no, it's Char. And I guess everybody was fooled by this disguise of his, where his hair is just over his eyes, and as soon as he slicks his hair back, of course it is Char. So I don't know. I just thought that's just so ridiculous. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess Casilia is the only one that saw through it.
yeah, apparently so. And of course, they get into a heated debate about like, yeah, like of why each is doing what they're doing. Like, supposedly Casilia wants, I think, a future for new types, but at the same time, like she's using the weapon to annihilate a huge portion of the earth, of the people of the earth, or whatever, for whatever reason. Like,
Yeah. So she's just a
like
massive
we
hypocrite because she was.
yeah, like calling out Giren for doing nearly the exact same thing by dropping a fucking colony on the
Yeah.
earth, while at the same time she's using like this giant beam weapon or whatever Zeknova weapon to, I don't know, like to annihilate much of this civilian population.
Well,
And I don't know what.
Well, I also
purpose
find
is.
it funny that what she's striving for is a future for new types, which we kind of did get in the original timeline anyway, because we got that's kind of what happens in Gundam Unicorn. So yeah, this has been done before.
So yeah, so Casilia is about to shoot Char, but then of course Machu and Neon's like, I guess they end up interrupting their confrontation after being guided by the spirit of Shuji, whatever it is. Like, he's not, I don't know, he's not fully physically there. It's just like he's just like this amalgamation of like whatever it is. It's like from this whole thing from the Kira or whatever the Zeknova thing is. It's so
I thought like before they revealed what Shuji was, I thought like, okay, maybe because Char makes some offhand comment about like me and Shuji, he seems very similar to me, so I was thinking like, is Shuji like some kind of manifestation of Char or something? I don't know. Like that's what I was thinking, but
So so Char um escapes with Machu, while at the same time Neon is you know she asks Casilia what is going on and what is happening. And when she sees Casilia, getting ready to kill Machu, Neon shoots Casilia in the back, which
Yeah.
initially I thought that would have killed her,
Well,
but
no, because
surprisingly
like
it
I
didn't.
saw where she shot her. She shot it. Well, either the back or the abdomen, which isn't a lethal area. I mean, she wouldn't have that wouldn't have killed her. Um. So yeah, I didn't think she was gonna die from that. Uh,
Yeah, and so soon afterwards, um, the red Gundam all of a sudden just pops out of nowhere, and then thanks to the Rose of Sharon, Char it helps manifest Char's original outfit again,
yeah.
his Zeon outfit and helmet and mask and everything. Uh, so
Well, and then that was the moment
so
that I guess Bachi realized, oh, that this is Shar, the Shar from the 1 Year War,
yeah, so Char's mission is to I guess kill Lala
which is
and
so.
destroy the
Oh
Rose of
my god.
Sharon.
Okay, I okay. I guess people could argue like, okay, well maybe Shar didn't meet Lala or whatever, and in this timeline, so maybe he would kill her, but it's just such a ridiculous idea to think that Char would kill Lala. If you've seen the original series, you know how fucking ridiculous that idea is. That he would do that. But
Yeah, I mean, we all, I mean that would need, of course, need major explaining of what happened.
and this
With
isn't the
during that,
alternate
and of
universe
course,
Lala either. This is the original, apparently the original universe, like UC universe Lala that he's going to kill.
yeah, it is apparently so. So, you know, Machu, and reluctantly fights Char, while Shuji intervenes, uh, for however, what form he's taking, and
We should also point
he
out
I
that
guess he
apparently Shuji was so they do reveal, like, I guess they kind of reveal who Shuji is, that he was someone that I guess Char had met, I guess during this timeline's version of 1 Year War, because there's like a brief flashback with
it's
that. Um,
yeah, I mean, but it's not really clear, what whether Char got teleported into some alternate universe, or
yeah.
that he got pulled, or it's not really clear how they ended up meeting. It's just Char just says they just met, and then they and Char formed some kind of bond with Shuji, saying that he feels like a connection with him or something like
Mhm.
that. So it's not. But as to how Shuji's there in the first place, it's not really clear. But I guess in a way that it explains how Shuji uh, took control of the Red Gundam in the first place. But then, yeah, but of course, Shuji wants to protect Lala, and he reveals that he comes from a different universe, which I mean, I can't really say if he really comes from the OG universe, or if he comes from another alternate universe or something like that. And then Shuji, reveals that he's going to destroy, um, the GQuuuuuuX world, while at the same time, a white mobile suit, which of course is the original RX-78, just suddenly just appears, from this mysterious portal for
It's
whatever
funny
reason.
because I was asking, like, in this episode, I was like, okay, well, is Amuro ever gonna show up? Like, I was thinking like maybe he wouldn't, because he would. I feel like he would have shown up by now, and like I mean, also where are the other characters? But then I guess we got our answer this episode, in the end of this episode, because of course, obviously that's probably Amuro, because it is the original design for the ARC-78, which is, I said before the recording, it's just so ridiculous that they have the original design of the RX-78 with showing up now, but why didn't they use it in the in that whole opening sequence, or the flashback sequence with Char in the 1 Year War? Instead, we have like this really radically different design for the RX-78. And that's kind of the issue I have with, like, I would say, like, for most of these like mobile suit designs or Gundam designs for GQuuuuuuX, a lot of them just look really similar to like Avas and not really Gundams, just with the way they look.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
really
mean,
a fan of it,
especially
to be
with the G.
honest. Like it's
I mean, especially with the G Fred looking similar to the Ava,
and, and
the
not
Ava
to
Zero
mention like a
One.
lot of the pilot suits just look like plug suits from Ava.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, we'll have to see where where the last episode is gonna go from here.
Yeah,
But it's just like
and of course they
I really
have
wish.
to throw like throw in a lot of like the Easter egg of having Beyond the Time playing when Amuro shows up. It just sort of further reinforces this is just for fans of the original series, and if anybody like watches this who is not familiar with the especially with the original Gundam series, you are going to be very lost. Like you're not going to know what's happening. I mean, I'm lost too, and I've seen the original series, and I don't know what they're doing with GQuuuuuX.
I mean, I remember what happened to both Char and Almero at the end of
Yeah.
Char's counterattack, and I could assume that this entire series might be following up on on what happened to
And
them,
that
but
makes
it's
me
not.
ask again,
It just
and that
seems
makes me
like
ask again, what was the point of doing this in the first place if you're just going to do what you did in in the older series, in other series already? Like, okay, so this was done and it was done better before, you're just trying to do it again, but kind of different, I guess, but still doing the same thing.
yeah, honestly, I don't know
I just think it was,
where their end
I don't
game
know,
is.
like I feel like after having seen what happened with this series, especially the last few episodes, I think it was a huge mistake doing like the multiple timeline thing or the alternate. I mean, it would be one thing if this was just like a what if scenario and it was like an alternate UC timeline and you didn't go into like multiverse theory and all that stuff. I didn't think they needed to do any of that. And I feel like they really shot themselves in the foot by doing that, because they make a series that already really requires a lot of world building to make us understand the current state of the world after, this like alternate version of the 1 year war happens. And then they decide to go into like all this crazy multiverse stuff where we haven't even addressed like what's going on in the actual, like in this new timeline. Like it,
Yeah, and it's even worse because next week's episode's the finale, and where it's honestly it would have helped a little bit if if there was a second core, but because there supposedly there isn't going to be, it's just gonna completely demolish everything that we've seen
yeah.
this entire season.
I feel like it seems like the series was intended to be like longer. It just feels like maybe they, for whatever reason, they were told like it can only be 12 episodes.
Yeah, unless like if the assumption that that next week's episode is going to be the final episode is a lie, or if it's just misdirection.
With the way things are playing out, like I mean,
I would love for it to be like a misdirection,
Yeah.
but from the way that this recent episode ended, it just seems like it's like a finale type of episode in a way, and especially the way they introduce or reintroduce the RX-78 by the end of this episode. I mean, it's hard to tell where they're going with the ending with this.
Yeah, it's just been like, I mean, my other problem is there's just way too much like new type stuff in this series. Like everything is just like the new type magic, like there, and that's really all it is. I mean, that's all this GQuuuuuX has been, is just new type shenanigans, and a lot of people don't really like that about like the Universal Century timeline, is when they get like too much into the new type stuff. But this one, that's all this is. It's just like new type magic. But yeah, I don't know. It just feels like I think the main issue with GQuuuuuX is that it doesn't really seem like it has like a real focus as to where it's going. Like, what's the point of the show? What's it trying to say? Because it seems like it's trying to do like multiple things at once, and it's also trying to throw in like all this fan service for people of the original series. And I don't know. It seems like they didn't really have a plan as to like where they were trying to go with this.
And there's no focus nor any major character development for neither both Neon and
yeah, like
Machi.
it started out with like, and like I said, the issue too is it had like a really slow, like a slower pace starting out. Like it it only took until like what episode 5 or so before things started to get going. And it started out as like with the clan battle stuff that completely got forgotten about. Like what happened with those characters? They're gone. They've been written out of the series completely.
Yeah, the clan battle characters, like they're not even involved in this anymore.
And now it's about these the politics of the new the new timeline, or what's kind of what was happening with the new Xeon government, and then it became about this like civil conflict, and then after that we get into like the crazy stuff with the multiverse, like the Rose of Sharon stuff, which just led to its own series of problems, like I said. But it seemed like the series really needed to kind of find its footing before it went into all this crazy stuff. And then we just, after that, like, okay, now we're at the end. It's just so weird. It's like and then also it was about this love triangle too with Machu and Nyan being in love with Shuji, and of course that never really, that should have been had a lot more time spent on it too, because it doesn't make any sense. Like Shuji, they never spend any time together or bond or anything like that. Even Nyan and Nyan and Machu don't really have, like, as far as we know, they're just acquaintances. Like they've not even really established themselves as being like friends. And to go from that to them being like almost like fighting over Shuji, it's just like you've spent no time trying to like develop their characters and develop their friendship, and then we're supposed to believe that they're fighting over this guy that they also barely know.
Yeah, and I have to wonder like what the writing team is also. I don't know. Especially like Anno's involvement, like whether or not like how much he really even wanted to do this sort of project. It's just, I don't know. It's like I really felt, I don't even think like Anno really had much involvement at all, to be honest. It's just maybe he might have had like just maybe minor involvement with some episodes, but then I don't know. I'm not trying to make too many assumptions, but I feel like he just left the project midway through or something like that.
I would be surprised. It's hard to believe that Anno was involved in a lot of the writing. It almost feels like something where like multiple writers were like involved, and all their ideas were like just kind of thrown in there without any like real cohesion to any of it. It just feels like a total mess. Like I said, it's just that there's so many things that just kind of get thrown at the wall. And
yeah, I mean, honestly, it wouldn't be the first time Anno's having to deal with this situation. But I mean, we don't know what the whole deal is of like what's going on with the storyboarding and the writing. But yeah, it's hard for me to take in like what it exactly is happening with this show. And honestly, I don't know. It's hard for me to really take in like what's going to happen. For the final episode this week.
Yeah. I feel, unfortunately, like this series is just, unfortunately, has been really disappointing to me. I mean, I was willing to give it a chance. Like I was somewhat intrigued in the beginning. I mean, there are still things I like about it. Like I kind of visually it looks good. The art style takes some getting used to, but it's different. The music's okay, but everything else like is just kind of like I said, like it's just a complete mess. It just needed to be longer, and I mean, also it just needed to have like a have just like focus on one thing and try to do that. Especially if that your series, even if they didn't know at the time that it was going to be shorter, I felt like they really needed to like kind of cut a lot of this other stuff they wanted to do out and just kind of focus on doing like one thing and trying to do that well, instead of like trying to do multiple different things. And all of it, just kind of have all of it thrown into the series. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about these episodes. Unfortunately, I think this is just going to end up being like really disappointing, and just it'll probably be regarded as something like people are probably going to all forget about it after it's over. I hate to say, except for the fact that it was just like, I guess that one weird thing that Anno was involved with, that they'll be like, oh, that one Gundam project that Anno did. That it ended up being a total mess. unfortunately, that might be what this is remembered as, and it sucks because I mean, I really wanted it to be good, but it's just I don't know. Especially as a fan of the Universal Century, it's probably my favorite timeline in Gundam. It just sucks to see it kind of butchered the way it has been.
It's the one thing that really hooked me into this storyline is
Yeah.
because it's an alternate, I know, universe century storyline with Char, like, with a what if scenario with Char taking over the RX-78, and then the fact that like how much promotion went into this show by releasing like the first 3 episodes ish as a movie in theaters
Yeah.
before broadcasting this. But then, and of course we watched this, and then we're literally already at the end, and it just doesn't feel like it's paying off at this point.
Yeah. It just should have been done. It should have been done differently, if that's But yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to say about these episodes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what happens next week, but yeah, it just like it's still not going to change the fact that the show is like pretty much disappointed me pretty much by the end of it.
Yeah, yeah. I hate to say it, yeah, but I don't really anticipate the last episode is going to do much to really convince me of that this series was any good. I mean, it'll be interesting to see whatever Amuro is going to do, I guess. But aside from that,
That's assuming if that is Amuro.
yeah, that's
that,
true.
Like,
Well,
yeah.
actually, no, because if we remember, no, yeah, we didn't see, yeah, never mind. Yeah, I guess we didn't really see him at all until this point. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of going to almost end up being similar. Well, not exactly the same, but it'll probably be similar with like the last episode of like Wish from Mercury, with how rushed that was. With they're just going to do like the final climactic battle and then just kind of really quickly like go over like I guess what happened to the characters, and then that's pretty much it. So I that's kind of what I anticipate is going to happen. I don't think there's really going to be anything like that crazy. But yeah, guys, that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.